Jacobson. I'm joined today by Alex Baisley, who's actually the host of this call. But I'm just orienting folks from my list. What happened is Alex and I have been trying to schedule this conversation in which I introduced the Checkmate methodology to his folks, and we were unable to schedule it until this very last minute. And so I sent out an email this morning seeing if anyone who follows me would be interested in attending, since it's here. And as we say in the airline industry, we don't like to fly with empty seats. So, but for the rest of this, I'm just the guest, and Alex is the host. And with that, Alex Baisley, how you doing?
I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
Sounds great. If everyone else who's on the call could just confirm that you can hear us by typing in something friendly that might make us smile in the questions box.
Something friendly. Nice.
Well, I don't like to take the hard body shots till later in the call.
That's great. Oh my God, Howie, I'm so glad I'm here, and I'm really excited to share this with the people in my community, because two reasons. One is I think you're brilliant and a genius, and you've helped me personally so much. And secondly, because I think that we have our communities only overlap a small bit, Howie. And I think there's a lot of people in my community that aren't aware of your work, even though you're famous in other circles. And to introduce you to my folks, I'm just bloody thrilled about it. And to be honest, I've been wanting to do it for a year. I'm glad it finally kind of came together with the launch of your new program and so on. The timing was perfect. So I'm just really glad to be here hosting you, Howie.
Well, thanks. If you could drop me an email letting me know where those circles are where I'm famous, I would really appreciate it.
Okay, I'll do that. So, yeah, so just particularly if you're listening to this and you've been in my community, then you know I do a lot of work helping people find their calling. And a great deal of that, at least the kinds of folks that I attract, their calling includes being an entrepreneur or being self-employed. It's just the most obvious way for crazy, maverick, independent type folks to to consider earning their living. You know, they feel there's something great inside them, trying to get out. And so many people in my community are in some stages of either dreaming of self-employment or indeed are many, many years into it, but always pushing the envelope and always innovating and really working, really caring about getting their message out in the world, making a difference and making a living. And Howie Jacobson crossed my world 2 or 3 years ago in the form of a book to begin with. I read his Google AdWords for Dummies book that he wrote, and at the time I thought I was going to try my hand at Google AdWords. It turned out I sucked at it a bit, but I read the book, loved it, thought this guy was great, and I signed up for his email list. And then a year later, something like that, anyway, a recording came out in an email, and it was something called basically the Avatar and the hero's journey. The Checkmate method, what you're going to hear today, is what it was about. And I sat down and I listened to this thing, and I had tears in my eyes by the end of it, by how deeply it struck me. I have to admit, Howie, going into it, I thought it might be not surface exactly, but just very strategic and practical, which it is, but I didn't realize the depth of humanity that was going to be in it either. And from that moment forward, I've never been able to see my clients or even my reason for being in business the same again. And so I quickly got in touch with you, Howie, and forced myself on you, befriended you, and wouldn't let you go because I just thought you were like one of the top 3 things that I've ever heard in my business, and it really did change everything. So sorry for the long, rambling introduction, but I just really, really excited to bring you yourself, your personality, Howie, your deep humanity, and your Checkmate method to my gang. So I don't know where to start, but I do know that you probably have a place that you would like to start here.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. I will say that introduction felt very short to me.
Oh, did it? You're used to something more long-winded?
I could have listened for hours to that stuff.
That's right. Let's talk about me for an
Thank
hour.
you. Yeah. So yeah, I'll jump off on what you said about thinking that it's going to be sort of strategic and a little superficial. I think the quote was by, gosh, Groucho Marx, who said, "If you can fake sincerity, you've got it made." And
Right. Good point.
and the wisdom in there is, of course, in the irony that actually being sincere is a hell of a lot easier than faking it. Both in terms of the
Gosh,
effort
when
you
the
have to
defenses
expend,
go down, it is. That's true.
yeah, and in your likelihood of getting what the interactions that you actually want. Um,
Wow.
so the checkmate method, as we can look at the first slide on the screen there, is um, about how to dominate your market with game over advertising, and that's kind of a branding that I've stuck with for several years now. Because it's a good line. It kind of works, but there is a danger to that line that I wanted to acknowledge before we get into the method itself.
Okay.
And that is the word dominate, from the Latin dominus, lord, master, is kind of a military metaphor, and so much of our marketing is steeped in military metaphors. If you think about the campaign, the
Oh
blitz,
yeah.
gonna crush my competition.
Right.
Uh, it's a very zero-sum game. My gain is your loss,
Yeah.
and there is an element of truth in that. I'm not going to say that competition doesn't have to be that way, and we always have to play nice, and there's always more for everybody, because that's not true.
Hmm.
But the problem is that when we come into it with a military metaphor, and we're thinking about taking market share and getting more for ourselves, and having a very egocentric agenda, we're actually focusing on the wrong thing. So I don't want you to hear that I'm judging it as a bad thing, but simply it's not as effective as another way of approaching a market, which is much more of a courtship metaphor. And in that case, you're not looking at your competitors at all. You are looking at your prospect.
Right.
So you
Good
mentioned,
pictures.
yeah, you mentioned that you met me through Google AdWords for Dummies. So a lot of people assume that Checkmate is all about AdWords, and really
Yep.
that's where it began. That's where the seeds first were planted and set roots and grew. But like any living thing, it gets pollinated and ends up in all sorts of places you didn't expect it. So
That's true,
the
eh?
checkmate weed grows in many other places besides AdWords.
Well, Howie, I think that the way I've explained it to some friends and colleagues about you, and correct me if this is completely not true, is that the AdWords format, for people that don't know what AdWords is, it's the sponsor. When you do a Google search for something, you know how the top two things come up in sort of an orange box, and down the right side there are search results basically that are sponsored. When you click on them, someone has to pay for that click, right? So you're wondering what we're talking about. But those AdWords, if you were a company or a business and you wanted to put one up there, you only have a very tiny amount of space, 3 lines and just X amount of characters, to really try to not only promote what you're selling, but also keep people who are not good customers from clicking it, so that you don't have to pay for it, And so the whole medium, although it's very practical and strategic, all of a sudden opens up everything behind that, meaning you have to be astonishingly clear and astonishingly good at uh, putting a message out there to do it in such a small format. So I figured, Howie, that's probably part of what led you to such a deep exploration of marketing and what people want.
Absolutely.
Is that true?
Yes, the format of AdWords is really, it's marketing compressed into its purest form. And marketing's a funny word. When I started marketing, I thought it was its own special universe. It turns out that marketing is just like a flavor of communication, which seems pretty obvious to me now. But when I was starting, I thought marketing was its own secret world. But basically, it's just talking to people. In print, on video, in audio, in person, recorded, live. It's just, talking. All of us go through life using our words to get our needs met. A marketer includes in their needs getting money from people for goods and services rendered.
Yeah.
So it's no different. But so then Google AdWords or the Google search page is really a distillation of the entire human experience. Where if you think about it, we want something, and if we want it bad enough or long enough or intensely enough, we take steps to go get it. Whatever it is, that's been the history of humankind as long as we've been on the planet. I'd argue the history of every species, of life itself. You want something? If you deem it worth going for, on some sort of cost-benefit analysis, you go for it.
Right.
So now we just have a technology at our fingertips that allows us to greatly expand the universe of things we can want. Right? Do you remember when we were little kids, or remember when your kids were little, and they would ask you the craziest questions? Like, why is the sky blue?
Yeah.
Is that man pregnant? What all this stuff. And after a while, if you're like most parents, you kind of discourage those questions. I don't know why the sky is blue. Can you just finish your breakfast so we can calculate
it's when they come at awkward times. Yeah, right.
And yet, so then we stop doing it. But Google has given that back to us. Google is like the ultimate, magical mommy. Why, Google, why is the sky blue? Oh, here's an article on Wikipedia about prisms and refraction. So it's given us back the ability to ask for anything. Imagine 20 years ago, you had a question like, what was the name of that movie director who did the movie with Helen Hunt, and then before that he worked with James Garner? How on earth would you would think it for a fraction of a second, and because there was no way to answer it that was worth your time, it would go away.
Right.
Now everything is Googleable.
That's right.
Google is now the it's the measure of human desire.
I reckon there's probably a lot fewer bar fights as well.
Yeah.
6 people arguing over who was the actor in such and such, and someone's got it on the BlackBerry within 30 seconds.
Right. Right. That's why it's so good that we still have opinions. So we have something left to fight about.
Right.
So the Google search results page is people who want something, and they want something badly enough to interrupt what they're doing, go to a web page or a page on a mobile device, and enter a few words, and wait and look through 20 or 25 up to 30 different listings, different doorways to chase that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend Ben Hunt, who wrote the wonderful book Convert! Says this is like a bloodhound on the scent. That they're going to follow the scent trail until it goes dead or until they get what they want.
Right.
So why do I have these pictures from Gone with the Wind?
Why do you?
I forget. Let's just go to the next slide. No, not really. I've done this webinar 9 times in the last 2 weeks. I damn well know why they're there. So on the left, you've got the beautiful Scarlett O'Hara, the belle of the ball, the most eligible bachelorette in antebellum Atlanta. And on the right, there she is at the very beginning of the movie at a picnic at the Wilkes Plantation, surrounded by her beaux.
Mm.
And if you'll notice, they all are dressed the same. They've got the same haircut, the same facial expressions. They talk the same. They laugh at her jokes at the same time. When she wants a piece of cake, they fall over themselves trying to get it for her. And
Right.
she is utterly bored with all of them, and she has no basis to choose one over the other. She's just swimming in a sea of sameness.
Right.
And so the Google search results page is that sea of sameness. You and all your competitors are saying the same thing to the same person, and all of you want her, and she has no basis for comparison. And we've seen this in some of the webinars that we've done, in the conversations you and I have had, when we look at a search results page from the
Yeah.
point of view of a living, breathing person,
Right.
and we ask, which would you choose? And most of the time, people, I don't know, it's all the same. It's overwhelming.
Right.
And if you can imagine, Scarlett likes being the center of attention. She doesn't mind this. But in terms of the part of her brain that's trying to choose a husband, can you see how overwhelming that picture is?
Yeah. Yeah. I really can. I can see that through your eyes, and I can see. I'm just thinking at the same time that the Google search pages. I mean, not every one of us necessarily depend on someone finding us on Google, but the Google search page is kind of a metaphor for, is that the right word? Anyway, of the world, so that even people reaching us in other ways are hearing about us through conversation, or not hearing about us in conversation in our local communities because we have a yoga business or we have something like this. And do we really blend into the background? In fact, I mean, of course we're special, and we even might know we're special, but do other people know that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is a metaphor. It's a template. It's the most extreme representation of what goes on everywhere all the time, which is
Right.
you have a bunch of competitors vying for brain space in a marketplace. We talked about this yesterday, that when there's no means of differentiation, two things happen. One is it becomes a price war, and second, it becomes a very, very expensive proposition of hyping. So we see that with cellular phone companies fighting for our business, where there's really no difference among them.
Yes.
We see that with Coke and Pepsi, with McDonald's, Wendy's, and Burger King, where they're essentially selling the same stuff, and then they have to go into all sorts of gyrations and gymnastics to appear different.
Right.
Because they're not different, because they're large corporate entities that are all chasing the bottom line. And that therein lies the advantage of the small entrepreneur, is that you can actually be different. It's not just bullshit from the PR department. You can actually express your own individuality, your uniqueness, in a way that a large corporate entity cannot. Because corporations are not people, my friends.
Wow.
So we know how Scarlett turned out. She ended up with bad boy Rhett Butler, the one guy there who doesn't really love her, who just sort of wants to own her and tame her, and ends up being rather abusive and dismissive. And it's all because he was different. He caught her eye. He treated her differently from everybody else. And he, at that moment, gave her what she needed, which was excitement and whatever else, however else you want to psychoanalyze the dark desires of Scarlett O'Hara.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the challenge. Whoops. How do you cut through the clutter and be different so you get noticed, but at the same time being relevant and appealing? In other words, it's easy to be different and to be disgusting.
Right.
Right. What are those? Right. What are one of those guys that shown up in a mohawk and a muscle shirt at the picnic? Certainly would have stood out,
right.
But not in a good way.
Right.
So the question is, often we think, well, it must be a compromise. How can I find the position that's different enough, yet still follows best practices?
Right, right. So, for instance, to use the yoga analogy, I'm still a yoga teacher. I run yoga classes. I'm not disgusting, but I am different enough that I really stand out.
Right. So, you may, if you do naked yoga, That might be
Yeah.
something, but it
Well,
might be
they
too
do
much.
in Toronto.
Well, yeah, another tropical climes.
Yeah, and other tropical climes. That's right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm reading a wonderful book on starting and making money being a farmer by Joel Salatin, and he quotes his father about how different
All
you can be
right.
from everybody else. And he says, you can be a nudist or you can be a Buddhist, but you can't be a nudist Buddhist. That's just too weird.
There you go.
So, but I want to make the point that we're not talking about that kind of compromise. I
Okay.
don't. I think there's another way,
Okay.
which is that your difference is what makes you relevant and appealing,
Well,
as
I
opposed.
can't help but think that at this point in the conversation, in fact, we're still talking about us. And I think that's going to change pretty soon here in the conversation, isn't it?
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, I
I mean,
mean, we're
we
still
have.
thinking about when we're thinking about our business, all jokes aside, we're thinking about our business and we want to wear our quirks more on our sleeves, be more authentic, be more ourselves. And we love to know how that sort of plays out in our marketing, our promoting, and hopefully our income and our business. And at the same time, all of those things are important, and yet this whole time we're talking about ourselves.
Yeah, and that's, I think, an appropriate place to start.
Okay.
Because if you don't start with yourself, you suffer from infinite possibility syndrome,
Okay.
which is, oh gosh, I could, and for those of us who have been entrepreneurs for a while and have struggled with it, we can start to feel that opportunism bubbling up
Right.
when
I could do this, I could do
everything that
that.
looks like, yeah,
Mm,
right. So I think starting with ourselves is a good way to say, well, I don't really think I could be working with those people,
right.
or I don't think I would be good at that, or I don't
Right.
think I would enjoy doing that 4 hours a day. And so, starting with ourselves, we get to, divide the universe into not what we want and maybe what we want.
Mm.
And and for most people, the maybe what we want is a very small slice, so it's manageable. But let's say you're already in a business. You've decided what you want to do. You do Reiki or yoga, or whatever else. Maybe folks, if you want to type in the question box
Teach workshops.
and just yeah, put up a few things that you do, just so I can refer to them relevantly through the course of the presentation. And if anyone would like to volunteer to be on a hot seat, let me know that as well in the question box. So it's, in fact, our uniqueness in whatever field we're in that is going to be the magnet that attracts people. And so that's the point at which we start having to think about our ideal customer. Because if, let's say, you're doing nude yoga, for
Mm.
example,
Mm.
well, there's a group of people who will be very attracted to nude yoga.
Mm-hmm.
I'd put it that there's a much larger group of people that would be repelled by nude yoga.
Mm-hmm.
And so if your goal is, I want to, sell yoga to everybody, well, then that's not a really good differentiator. If,
Right.
however, your goal is to say, I really believe in this. I believe in the beauty of the human form, and I believe in modesty through expression and not modesty through repression. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that, blah, 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 and
Yeah.
this is who I am, then then the next step is to say, well, who resonates with that? Rather than me
Yes.
trying to reach the whole world, what's a niche that I can be comfortable in and
Right.
then, dominate, not by killing off my competition, but by having none.
Right.
By
Right.
articulating this vision so clearly that it becomes magnetic.
Right.
And by magnetic, I mean it as a very literal metaphor, that magnets attract some metals and not others. They
Mm-hmm.
attract some metals and not wood.
And then
And so,
repel other metals.
absolutely.
Right. That's a really good metaphor. That's true.
So, yeah, stole that from Dan Kennedy.
Oh, did you? Right.
Yeah, every time you compliment something I say, I'm going to have to cite where I ripped it off.
Well, that's oh my God, I just completely lost my train of thought. When as soon as that picture popped up,
Oh,
you'll have to keep going, Howie. I forget my question marks.
okay. Um, so now again, I'm still sticking to the Google page, But you can apply this to lots of different arenas of marketing. The
Mm-hmm.
concept of keywords are compressed desires. And by that I mean, just like in this scene from Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, the engineer Scotty is trying to talk to the computer, the 20th century Macintosh computer, and he starts off the way he talks to his computer aboard the Starship Enterprise. He says, "Computer." And on the Enterprise, the computer hears him and responds. It's very, very AI.
Right.
Here, the computer just sits there, and he gets a little frustrated. Then Dr. McCoy suggests he pick up the mouse and speak into the mouse, which he's doing in this picture. And again, the computer does nothing. Finally, the 20th century human in the middle says, "Just use the keyboard." And Scotty puts down the mouse with disgust and puts his fingers on the keyboard and says, "How quaint." So when we have a problem or a desire or something we want to know, we don't want to just go to Google and use the keyboard and type in 3 or 4 words. We want, if you're in debt and you want to get out of debt, you want to tell a story. You want to say, "Oh my gosh, the bill just came today that I can't pay. I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to send my kids to the school that they're happy in, and we're going to have to go back to that lousy public school where they got bullied. And oh my gosh, I've had to trade in my car. And I've tried to stick to a budget. I really have tried to stick to a budget, but there's always something that comes up, some emergency or something that Can't you hear someone who's in debt and in pain going through that in their mind?
Yeah.
And Google is going, use the keyboard. Tell it to the little box. And so we don't give up these feelings and this stream of consciousness. We just have to compress it into what we think will help us find a solution. And so those keywords are compressed desires. And if you want to be successful marketing online or marketing anywhere where your clues, where people are searching for you using some sort of search algorithm, then it's very important to be aware that we have to decompress those keywords back into meaningful narratives, into the felt stories of people's lives. So now let's get to your customer. So again, we're sticking with Google for this metaphor, but there's the big circle, the full circle there, represents everyone who is searching for what you've got. So it could be everyone in the market for yoga in Toronto. It could be everyone on Google searching for get out of debt. It could be everyone who goes to the city fair who stops by all the booths for energy retrofitting of their houses.
Right.
Whatever it is. So the thing to be clear about is not all of those people are your ideal customer for a variety of reasons. We can go through, there's different categories of reasons. One is you provide the thing they need in a form they can't consume. So let's say I teach do-it-yourself courses on how to market. Someone might say, nah, I just want someone to do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? We're not a good fit.
Right.
I teach a very right brain, emotional style of marketing. Someone who just wants, procedures and step-by-step and mathematical formulae is not a good fit.
Right.
I would drive them nuts.
Right.
Someone who is, you can go through all sorts of different, someone who doesn't like me because I blog about environmental stuff and I blog about social justice and I'm very progressive. Someone who could learn from me and who would value my approach might just think I'm a left-wing tree-hugging, bleeding heart, knee-jerk liberal blowhard and couldn't stand to keep listening to me, even though they would get value from the content itself. So there's all sorts of reasons that someone would not be your ideal customer. So the point of that is in the middle, there's a small subsection that is the perfect fit. So Alex, you found a lot of perfect fit clients just by putting yourself out there, and people, they stumble upon you and most of them go, oh, that's weird. And some of them go, wow, that's deep. That's what I needed to hear.
Right. That's true. That's true. Yeah.
And so it's important to identify that perfect fit. Here's where we're getting into strategy and Checkmate is what I call game over ads, which is an ad that is designed specifically to attract that ideal customer, that little green button in the middle, and to repel everyone else, or at least to not attract everyone else, to ignore them, to be their wood and you're a magnet. And third,
Yeah.
to prepare your ideal customer for the landing page, for the next thing you're going to give them. So it's like a sign outside your establishment that promises a certain experience, and they walk in and they say, oh, this is congruent. So if the sign outside says bowling alley, they walk in and they smell sweat and popcorn and they hear crashing in the background. That's good. You know, if they see fancy oak furniture and you know, and they smell chlorine, then they're confused and they'll leave. So
Right.
So what we're doing here with our initial advertising, with our attraction strategy, is to actually make the rest of our sales funnel work better. So sticking with AdWords here, CTR is short for click-through rate, which is basically how well your ads are doing at getting people to your website. So,
and of course, that's symbolic for all of us, no matter what our business are, because there's some equivalent of that for us when people see our post on Facebook. Are they apt to read it, in fact, that sort of thing?
right. So it's the conversion from waving across the room to coming
Right.
over and starting a conversation, whether in AdWords or
Okay.
Facebook
Okay.
or face-to-face or a flyer in the local mail or whatever.
Yeah.
So what we want now, AdWords is unusual in that it's a pay-per-click medium, meaning every time someone comes over your website, you pay something. Other media are not like that. And so, but that factor in AdWords makes it crucial that we try to suppress clicks from people who will never do business with us.
Right.
So what we're doing by writing ads specifically for our ideal customer and trying to dissuade others is to increase the right click-through rate, decrease the wrong click-through rate, and now all of a sudden, if you've got more of the right people coming to your website or coming to your Facebook page or calling you up for a free consultation, by definition, you're going to close more of them. Your success rate will be higher because you're matching your marketing message to your market better than you had been doing earlier.
Right. Right. And I think one of the great invitations here, which I know you're getting into, so just let me introduce it, is one of the great invitations here is that it's not only nice, but it's also strategically very smart to be more and more yourself in the marketplace. I think you're within yeah, reason, I suppose, but it's the call here is that no matter what we do, maybe there's other people in the world do similar things, and the real call here is that we can really, really be more and more and more ourselves, and under the knowledge that there are people in the world that we're just waiting for someone like that once we step out of the closet, as it were.
Absolutely, and I think there's a strategic way to be more and more ourselves in a way that serves others, so that there's certain people who are ready for us to be ourselves from day one.
Right.
You know, however shocking that might be.
True, and I remember I love the story of a client and friend of mine in Colorado, and John, and he is a life coach and did his worked with clients same as the rest of us do by Skype and phone, and still does. But in the whole conversation about his lifestyle and his what makes him quirky, what's really authentic about him, and so on, something came out of that was and enjoys that part of his life, and he decided that he was going to suggest to the next of his clients that called as regular clients, how would you feel about the idea of having our life coaching session whilst hiking this particular hill? And the person was thrilled about it. So off they went and hiked the hill, and the client said it was possibly the best life coaching session he'd ever had. It was just fabulous. And so a whole door opened up then for him to do more and more of this. And what's really curious to me about that story is I was thrilled to think of them out there climbing on the hill. I thought, how healthy and wonderful and beautiful way of speaking and being human and doing business all at the same time. But at the same time, here I am talking about the guy, right? I've worked with hundreds of life coaches, and so many of them are fantastic, but why am I talking about him? Because he took that piece of authenticity inside himself, brought it out, and there you go.
It's beautiful. And I can immediately think of 10 ways in which the mountain becomes an ally to the coaching process.
Oh my goodness, I didn't even see that. Yes, very good, Howie. Yeah. And the other thing he did just quickly in the same sort of vein is he loves his motorcycle. And so he started a summer program for several days, I think, each summer, where he leads a motorcycle, what would you call that, road trip. And the way it sort of works is he gives people something to be thinking about in their lives, whatever, between one stop and the next. And then they get together for lunch or overlooking some vista, and they talk about it. And they talk about how this affects their lives and so on. So he combined road trip motorcycling with the evolution of one's life. And again, here I am talking about it because the two things are not unusual, but put them together and they're unusual. And I couldn't help but think that is a great illustration of some of what you're talking about.
Oh, I love those. Those are beautiful, and they're already inspiring me to think about ways in which I've thought for many years about doing a week-long marketing seminar in the rainforest in Costa Rica, in which the morning was spent going out and with a naturalist and learning about niche and competition and strategies for making a living by the different plants and animals, and then in the afternoon applying it to our own businesses.
Oh my God, that's a fantastic idea. I really resonate with it. I got goosebumps sort of thing. So yeah, I think you need to consider that. Yeah, I think you need to invite me as a guest speaker as well. But anyway, we'll leave that for another discussion.
Well, maybe I'll have to bite the bullet on that and actually spend a week and a half in Costa Rica in the rainforest. Yeah. So you can start out being with your sort of signature quirks. Climbing mountains, riding motorcycles, gardening, whatever you're passionate about. You can talk about that as the backdrop to your email stories about what you do. So if you're a financial planner, if you love movies, you could every different movie you watch, you could talk about the financial implications for the characters, and then get into your tip of the day, so that you're coming from a human perspective. So let's talk a little bit about Checkmate, so we can get into it. And by the way, I'm concerned. I haven't seen any responses on the question sheet. And I know that nobody has actually left the call. People are listening. I'm worried that people can't hear me and they're just waiting for the thing to start, or that I've pressed a button wrong and no one's able to type in a question. So if somebody could just type something. All right, thank you, Lori. Cool, thanks. So. If someone wants to be in the hot seat, now's a really good time to volunteer. Now that I know that you can hear me and you're just being shy. So let me explain how Checkmate works with competition and prospects. So in this case, we're going to start with a keyword because, as we've seen, it's the most severe form of compression of desire. Then, now the nice thing about keywords is then we can then type them into Google and see what all the competition is saying to someone who typed in that keyword. So the Google search results tool actually represents millions of dollars of market research to the person who knows how to read it.
Mm-hmm.
I developed a tool called the Checkmate Matrix, which helps you read that that page and kind of decipher what's going on. So it's a way of putting on infrared goggles to survey a landscape at night. Otherwise,
right.
They're just sort of amorphous shapes. This really brings it into very sharp relief.
Hmm.
And then what we do is we then create a customer avatar. We take what we know and what we intuit and what we guess and what we think and what we hope about our ideal customer, and we turn it into a person. It's a fiction writing exercise of creating a character. And it's a character who has just typed in that keyword, who needs that thing. And then all we do, and this happens very, very naturally, is that we start seeing huge gaps between what all our competitors are saying to our avatar and what that person needs to hear to move forward, to feel empowered, to feel unconfused. So that's the whole process.
When you talked about the avatar there, I'm not sure how much you're getting into in this presentation, Howie. That is the bit, just for everyone listening, that came to move me so much. Really brought tears to my eyes. Creating this avatar, we're covering it in a rather surface way here because we don't have so much time, and the 7-week course is coming up to do it properly. But that changed everything for me, Howie. I remember saying this to you yesterday, that through your process of helping us, you were asking the right questions and so on that allowed this image of a person to come to mind. It was rather a magical process and seemed very natural with you leading it. But once I had this avatar in mind, it changed everything for me. The why I was in business suddenly grew 1,000-fold because there was a face to why I was in business. And I would love it if in my life I could make some contribution to that person, and that person is symbolic of hundreds or thousands of people that are like that. But secondly, it completely changed what programs I think up in the first place, never mind before the marketing. Is because if I think up, oh, I could do this, or my God, it'd be fun to do that, and I kind of run it by this avatar in my head, and I know instantly if it's worth pursuing or not. I don't know 100% for sure is the avatar and everyone they represent going to buy it, but I do know if it's worth pursuing because I feel a really strong click about it. And
right.
So this process of the avatar and the subsequent hero's journey, which I know you're going to be doing on the main course, are just game changers. But anyway, here I am interrupting again.
I appreciate that. It's I think what I'm doing is essentially bringing us back to our senses. That when we go into business, we think we have to act a certain way, and we have to do all sorts of unnatural things. And I bought into that for many years.
Right.
Really focusing on strategies and tactics. And so my favorite book on selling is called "Let's Get Real" or "Let's Not Play." And the phrase that sticks with me from that book is intention is more important than technique.
Wow.
Now, technique is hugely important. But let's say, if you're playing golf and you have great technique, but you don't know where the cup is, so you have no intention to hit it toward the cup, it doesn't matter how far you can drive or how accurately. It's not going to matter. So I'm trying to get us back to our intention here of being of sacred service to people who are in our care. The word client is a medieval word meaning someone under your protection.
Wow, I didn't know
And
that.
I'm sure you think of your avatar as somebody under your protection.
Very much so, Howie. There's this natural desire to protect, and even to protect from myself. At times in business when we feel perhaps a bit extra needy or something like that, you know, and I can really sit with this avatar now and be able to process that in myself and say, am I actually doing this for you or for me? And how does that work out? And anyway, it lends a face and a realness to all sorts of business, I don't know, processes and journeys that are going on inside us.
Yeah, so it's a way to remember that business is just about human beings, meeting each other's needs.
Mm. Mm.
And then once we get that clear, there's room for all the strategies and tactics. I don't have any problem with that. One of the things I think about when I am writing a sales letter or I'm doing something that's a little bit manipulative
Mm-hmm.
is am I doing this because I know that the person needs this push to take the next step?
Right.
And that's very, very tricky territory, and it's one of the
Yeah.
reasons that I never do anything without 100% money back guarantee, because
Right.
I can be wrong, and I don't want
Right.
I don't want the possibility of me being wrong to make me timid in the
Yeah.
approach, because
Got it.
that does there's lots of people who've taken my courses who said they were so glad that they did, and they're glad that I did that whatever little push that helped them get there.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. The I can see that. I watched all of the videos, testimonial videos on your sales page, which incidentally has been voted by several of us as the best, most, I don't know, human. I can't think of just a better word for it, a sales page we've ever read. It was just fantastic. But also listen to all those testimonials and to see the effect you had on these people from such a variety of different businesses and situations, right from the sort of touchy-feely to the kind of the more, I don't know, hard-nosed or certainly highly practical person. And to see your effect was really heartwarming.
I know, and it's not me, and that's not false modesty, because if it was me, I would own it. It's the process of allowing us to remember our humanity and to let our creative side play. Lori asked a question a couple minutes ago. Are you going to be showing a sample of one of your avatars? That depends on you and everyone else who's listening. I don't have any in my pocket. I would love to go through the process of avatar creation, but I need somebody to volunteer. So either a business that you run. I did not prepare something canned. I used to do that presentation, and then one day someone said, "Well, how would this work with, say, my business?" Okay, Lori, I will pick you. So let's see if I don't think your audio is on. Can you dial in, or you're actually on the phone? All right, let's see if we can hear you. No, something it says that your audio is not live enough. Your little phone icon is grayed out. When I try to unmute you, it won't let me. Did you press the audio pin thing so that I know it's you? So it's just like a number that connects it. Oh, now it's gone. All right. Well, Lori, just on the phone. So if you're on the call, you press if it's 21, you press 21 star. Okay, let's see if that worked. Ah, Lori.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, going great.
Cool. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Castro Valley, California.
Ah, nice. Let's not talk about the weather then.
I was just going to say, you're a little warmer, Lori, than I am here in Canada.
Yeah, I'm still wrapped in a blanket, though. We're lightweights over here.
Ah, nice. Any fool can be uncomfortable.
There you go.
All right, so tell us a little bit about your business, what you do, who you serve.
Well, I am just starting, actually, so I'm kind of ideal for this, maybe. I've started a business called Taking the Stage. I'm an actor and a singer and a socio kind of person, a linguist. And my deal is that I want to help people understand that they can be more conscious about what they do, whether it's powerful or not powerful, whether it is creative and self-supportive, and then they can make a choice, a more powerful choice, to free themselves from whatever they think is holding them back, whether it's, oh, I have to work this miserable job, or I have this belief that I just have to believe I have to be miserable, things like that. I hope all of that makes sense, because this is so in production.
Uh-huh. Okay, so I'm working really hard because there's an issue of sound quality.
I know.
It's a little, your voice sounds a little computerized in bits. I think I got almost all of it. Alex,
Okay.
You're younger than I am. What did you hear?
Oh dear.
Alex, you there? Uh-oh. Did I lose my host?
Oh my God.
Lori, what did you do to Alex? All right,
oh my God.
We'll continue. Maybe he went for a tea break. So
should I
I'm
type
here.
it in?
Alex, you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Good. Sorry about that.
No problem. I'm just so Laura, you work with people using techniques of voice and stage to help them be more powerful in wherever they're in their life they need more power. Hello?
Oh no, did we lose her?
Yeah, we lost Lori's phone again. Her icon's gone. Did you? Oh, now it's back. Maybe she plugged something else in. Lori, you still there?
Can you hear me?
Now I can. There's a bit of an echo.
Good going. Okay.
That'll be all right. So we'll get from you what we need, and then I might keep muting you out just to improve the audio quality of the rest of the call. But so what's a typical problem that you solve for someone, or that you empower them to solve for themselves?
A typical problem is somebody thinking that they just don't have the ability to make a new choice in their life.
So someone's stuck.
Someone is stuck.
Okay. So one of the things we is very helpful to do as we conceptualize our business is to describe it in words where someone would say, "Oh, that reminds me of someone." So you may end up with several different niches. It might be one of your most popular niches. Might be, if you think about where are the places that people tend to feel stuck. I'm guessing it's at a job.
Yeah, one of the most common places is people who think that they have to be miserable and stay in situations, especially in jobs, that they can't change.
Okay, so it sounds like a victim. Someone's
yes,
in victim
very much
role.
a victim.
Okay. Now, I don't know if this to be true, and Alex, feel free to jump in with any insights. But
Okay.
I don't find people necessarily self-identify as a victim. That when they're in this situation, when you are a victim, one of the symptoms of that is that you are blaming things external to yourself. So it's like, I can't get out of this job because I need the money, because I have a family to support, because I have student debt, or I'm in this relationship that I can't get out of because I don't have the money to get an apartment, or that there's always something external. So if you're trying to speak to someone who's in a situation like this, it's important to find words that they would actually use. So let's go through the avatar process now and see if we can get you some clarity.
This little phrase just went through my mind, guys. I'm wondering, Lori, if it resonates or not. I just really saw almost in exclamation marks, "No one listens to me."
That's
Would that
definitely
be
one of them.
Okay.
Okay. So this might not be an AdWords play, because I'm having trouble imagining the keyword that someone would type in. They might type in "hate my job" or "get a new job" or something, something like that, and that might be your market. But let's leave that aside for now and just focus specifically on the avatar. So, Lori, are you ready to play?
I'm ready.
Okay. Now, since you're an actor, you're gonna find this very familiar. So I'd like you to start by centering. So whatever that means to you on a mental and physical level. So if you're sitting, sort of notice your body on the chair. Notice your weight, where it's given freely to gravity, where you might be doing some holding. Your legs, your feet, are they flat? Are they up, tucked under, heels up, whatever? Notice your general state of body tonus. You're relaxed or tense, slumped, neutral, sort of leaning forward, leaning back, standing up, pacing. And the reason we're doing this is that shortly you're going to get into you're going to do some improv and get into the body of your avatar. And so what we're doing here is identifying the baseline you so that we can filter out that noise from the avatar in a little bit. So now bring your attention to your breathing and just notice what it's doing. You don't have to change anything, but if something wants to change, you can just let it. So is it, mouth or nose, combination, chest or belly, fast or slow? Notice what your face is doing, where your eyes are focused. Are they sort of intensely focused on the screen, or diffuse, or even closed? And from this place, tell me. So you're going to think about someone that you could really help. Okay, someone who's in pain right now because of a problem that you could help them with. Okay. And I'd like you to start by just telling me that person's name.
Athena.
Say again?
Athena.
Athena. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And how old is Athena?
She's in her 30s.
Okay. Good. I'm glad you said that because it gives me a chance to clarify something. I'm trying to find the right page here. So the goal here is to get out of our heads and into our bodies and get into our intuition. So the more specificity we can bring to this process, the better. So now I'm going to ask you a question a different way. In what year was Athena born?
Okay. Not good at math. Let's say she's 32.
Okay, cool. So she's 32. So you're now going to answer questions as if you know the answers.
Got it.
So we're going to do improv and yes and. So when I ask a question, you don't say, "Well, I'm not really sure," or "in her 30s," or something. You're going to answer. So, what kind of pet did Athena have when she was a kid?
What kind of what?
What kind of pet did she have when she was a kid?
Oh, she had a hamster.
Good. So you understand the rules.
Yes, I do. I'm making stuff up.
Good.
You're doing great.
Okay, so where does Athena live?
Athena lives in Emeryville, California.
Okay. And in a house, in an apartment, on a farm?
In a really small apartment.
Okay. And does she live there alone or with other people?
Alone.
Okay. So is she single or separated? What's her relationship situation?
She's never been married. She's single.
Okay. Is she in a relationship?
No.
No. Okay. And what does she do for a living?
She's a secretary.
Okay. For what sort of business?
Like a sweatshop.
A sweatshop, like a literal sweatshop.
Well, I actually do know the place you work
more.
at. It's just a big corporation.
Okay.
Which is run like a sweatshop.
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So she would describe it as sweatshop.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And what's her boss like?
Demanding.
Okay. How long has she been working there?
10 years.
10 years?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So pretty much since she graduated?
Yes.
Okay. Where'd she go to college? Did she go to college?
Yes.
Where'd she go?
Yale.
She went to Yale. No kidding. Her name's Athena. She was born in 1980. She went to Yale, and she's working. Is she well paid?
No.
Okay. So she's poorly paid, hence the small apartment.
Hmm.
How many hours a week does she work?
70.
70 hours a week. This is starting not to be fun.
She's not having a good time.
Okay. So what did she study in Yale?
Politics.
Okay. And why did she choose that field of study? What inspired her?
She was interested in interpersonal communication and why and how.
Okay. Was there a particular politician or public figure that was important to her when she was younger? A role model?
Bill Clinton.
Okay. So she was 12 when he became president.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that was a big deal, right?
Yes.
I assume she's on the liberal side.
She is.
She had spent not a single second of her life under a Democratic president until Clinton was elected, and at the age of 12, she had a connection. She felt a connection.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened when she graduated that led her to what seems to be a very bleak dead end?
An alcoholic mother.
Say more?
Needed to come take care of her mother and live with her, and it derailed her life.
Okay, so this was someone she'd met at Yale?
No, this was her mother.
Mother. Oh, I thought you said lover.
No.
Okay. Damn you, AT&T. Boy, I'm glad I confirmed that. I would have gone in a very interesting direction.
Good catch, Howie. Good catch.
Yeah.
And Laurie, you're doing great with this. I remember going through it first, and yeah, you're just rolling with it. It's wonderful.
Yeah. When I heard actor, I got very excited. we're just going, into the heart of darkness here. Where most people are afraid to go. She moved back home to take care of her alcoholic mother. Where's her dad?
Dead.
Okay. How old was she when he died?
10.
Okay. What was their financial situation when she was growing up?
Lower middle class.
Okay. So she got to Yale on a scholarship?
Yes.
I assume straight academic or kind of?
Straight academic. Terrific student.
That's pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm. She's brilliant.
Okay. So if when she was 12 years old and Bill Clinton came into office, if you had asked her at that point, what do you want to do with your life? What do you want to be when you grow up? What would she have said?
She would have said that she wanted to be a mover and a shaker to help. How should she help? to help the Democratic Party.
Okay, so was her family politically active? Did she get it from
Not
them?
at all. She was the oddity.
Are they conservative or apolitical?
Apolitical.
So it wasn't in their consciousness, and all of a sudden she became a young Democrat.
It gave her a purpose, and a positive one.
Okay. Did she see herself as her family as the sort of people that Democrats could help, or did she see her family as sort of needing that kind of help?
She saw herself as needing that help, and people like her needing help.
Okay. Cool. So what I'd like now, we've got a pretty good picture, but there's a lot more that we could explore. So let's before we turn it over to Athena, what does she want help with? It seems like there's a lot of dead ends in her life. When she comes to you, Lori, what does she hope you're going to help her with?
She wants to find the strength to believe that she can actually be strong enough to make changes in her life and make more powerful choices. So
Okay,
she wants me to help her understand that mentally, and to give her, through acting or singing exercises, self-expression exercises, the actual experience of being more powerful and being able to choose a different emotional state on the spot.
Okay, so what's her self-awareness about this? So I'm going to challenge you a little bit, because it sounds to me like the language you're using is you language, Lori language.
Yeah.
And I don't hear that coming from Athena. So I get the basic sense of it, but let's hold off on that and let's see if we can excavate some of that. So what I'd like is, there's a whole bunch of other people on the call who I need your help now. So Alex, that includes you, and it also includes the silent vast majority who are listening in.
Okay.
So, Lori, let's pretend that Athena is searching for this, whatever it is, on Google. So she's about to sit down, and maybe she doesn't know, but she's going to kind of look around for, courage to change, something like that. So I want you to now become Athena.
Okay.
And you're going to start by becoming her in your body.
Okay.
So notice the way you, as Athena, interact with the computer that you're in front of right now. So are you leaning forward? Are you slumped back? Are your fingers sort of twitching, ready to go? Are they heavy and despondent? And you don't have to answer any of this, but this is just to kind of do a little induction into Athena. So you're 32 years old. You had a hamster when you were a child. You live in a small apartment alone in Emeryville, but near your mother, whom you came home to take care of from college, and you put all your dreams on hold. You're exhausted. It's late at night because you just got home at 9:30 because your boss had some emergency that he had forgotten to plan for, and so you're sitting there. You haven't had a chance to cook dinner. You're too tired to eat anyway. You're half thinking that maybe you'll just fall asleep on the couch in your clothes, and you wonder if you have the energy to get up and brush your teeth, but you're slumped in front of your computer, and you think back to your glory days at Yale. You were one of the co-captain of the debate team your junior and senior year, as I recall. You were president of Campus Democrats for a semester, and you really thought you were going to make a difference. And here you are 10 years later. So let's ask now, Athena, are you there?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. So I'd love for folks to ask questions of Athena. Type them in the box, and Alex, you and I can just speak them out loud. So Alex, you got something?
Yeah, I guess my first question is, how are you feeling inside right now, Athena?
Desperate.
Say a little louder.
Desperate.
Desperate.
And can you describe that just a little bit more?
There's got to be a different way for me to be, and I don't know what it is, and I gotta find it.
Mm.
Now it seems like when I look at your life, Athena, it looks like it's all happening on the outside. You know, your demanding boss, your low-paid, dead-end job at a big corporation that you think of as a white-collar sweatshop. Couldn't you just why don't you just change that?
I can't leave my job. They gave me 2 jobs in one, and they didn't even give me a raise, and I need money, and I just left my mom. Don't know what to do.
Okay. What if you had more time? If you had a normal job, what would you do with your free time?
I'd start a business.
Okay. Doing what?
I would help other people. No, I would help children because I love kids.
Okay. So you're not sure what, but it would be something that would serve children.
Yeah.
What do you see that children need that they're not
They
getting?
need love. They need so much love, and they need a place to go to really be creative and expressive and happy.
How do you know that?
Because that was me. You know, I was never supported in that, and then I went to college and I was supported in that, but then it all went away.
So you've used the word support a couple times, and that seems to be a really important axis on which your life turns, in which where I wasn't supported, where I was supported, and now where I'm supporting my mother. Are you still sort of supporting your mother?
Well, I still have to see her, and it's difficult. So, no, I don't have to support her financially, but I do emotionally.
Emotionally.
Yeah.
So you're giving back to her what you didn't really receive.
Yeah.
In a perfect way, or even a useful way for you.
Right. Because I have to, but I think it's the kids that really need it.
So, when you talk about support and not support, do you have what other things in your life right now support you or could support you? Do you have a network of friends, of other relatives?
I do have some friends. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And in what ways are they available to you, and in what ways are you sort of on your own?
Well, we have a lot of fun together, but then when I'm really feeling trapped and scared like I am now, I don't want to tell them because they might think I'm weak.
Uh-huh. And what do you think of, what feeling comes to you when you think of yourself as possibly weak?
Well, I feel kind of like an idiot. I went to Yale. I'm supposed to have the answers, and I don't. Look at my life.
What did you do at Yale for fun that had nothing to do with achievement?
I didn't. I mean, there were parties, but I was having such a good time working.
Uh-huh. So you've defined yourself in terms of your contribution.
Yes.
What contribution do you make now to the world?
I don't, and I hate that.
You feel like you contribute nothing?
Right, except to my mother.
Hmm. And I hear that's difficult.
Yeah, she's not easy to deal with.
Uh-huh. Do you have other siblings?
No, it's just me.
Okay. Uh, so Orestes wants to know, um, do you think of that one day you'll have a family of your own, and what do you know, what would that be like?
I would love that, but right now I'm working so much. How am I ever gonna even have time to date?
All right. So I hear that immediate resistance and objection. So
Hmm.
let's pretend for a second it wasn't an issue, and and really honor that question. What's your dream family look like?
Dream family is wonderful husband, 2 kids, settled down, and I have my own business, and my husband has his own business, and we have time to do family things.
Hmm. Can you feel how your children's childhood will be so much richer than yours was?
Absolutely.
And I want you to sort of take that in, that sort of acorn of a contribution. Because one thing you said was you feel like you're making no contribution to the world right now, but I want you
Mm.
to feel the potential for the contribution you can make. That's alive inside you. So
Beautiful.
so I hear you're looking for some way to bust out of your rut.
Yes.
Okay. Um, so Steve has a wonderful follow-up question about the family. He says, what does a different lifestyle for your kids mean? What will they get, or what will they have that you didn't?
They'll get my time, my attention, my love, and my encouragement.
Okay. So what will that do for them? Because I mean, look at you. You were brilliant as a kid. You went to Yale. You were active. Like you may have had it rough, but it didn't stop you.
Uh, Depends on how you look at that. I mean, right now I'm working a dead-end job that's killing me, but it didn't stop me from going to Yale, right?
So something at the age of like 21 and a half kind of it feels like it ran out of juice, maybe.
Yeah, I had to put myself aside and be there completely for my mother and be an adult and go out and get any kind of job and start working.
Okay. And so let's go back to your family, your future family and your kids. Um, so what lessons do you want them to learn from you if you tell them the story of this part of your life? Do you want the lesson to be that they should put their lives on hold to help you if you need it?
I was just going to say that's the first lesson. Don't put your life on hold for your parents.
Okay.
For me, yeah.
Uh, so let's get back to you're looking for someone to help you bust out of that rut. Um, what do you think someone could do or tell you? Like I'm sure you're very smart. You've probably
Yeah.
thought about this every free moment for the last eight years at least. Like, what's wrong with me? How do I fix this? And your rational brain has come up with nothing. Right? So what are you hoping will happen if you what would it look like to bust out of your rut? What would have to happen for that to happen?
Well, I want someone to tell me what I'm doing wrong. Why is it that everybody else seems to be successful and I'm stopped dead? So I want someone to tell me how to get my mojo back.
So
how to be the strong person I used to be.
Mm-hmm. When you were 20 and 21, and in fact all through your childhood, because you needed a lot of strength, didn't you, to survive and thrive the way you did in your family.
Oh yeah, I'm really strong, and if it were all just about strength, I'd be a multimillionaire.
So you've got this powerful engine, and it's just stalled.
Yep.
And you're pulling on the starter cord till you're exhausted, and it just won't start.
Right.
And as a result, you've got this powerful machine, but you can't use it. You have to do everything by hand while you drag the machine around behind you.
Oh my God, that's exactly it.
So what would it mean to you if you found someone who could kind of give you the user's manual back to yourself?
Oh, all I can think of is the word bliss. Freedom.
Bliss. Freedom. What would be different about your life? Fast forward a year. What would you have changed if you had this power back?
I would not be giving my life to some big corporation. I would be giving my life to me and to the people that I would be helping, and I would feel passionate and alive and like I had a focus and a purpose.
And what would I see if I were watching the movie of you in a year? Because I wouldn't be able to see the feelings, but what would I be able to see that would tell me that was the case?
Oh my goodness, I would be smiling and I would be standing up straight and radiating joy. I'd be well dressed. I'd be talking to you on the street. Hi, how are you? So good to see you. Instead of being a wilted flower like I am now.
Got it. So as you go about this search, and I want to honor you for even searching, for not giving up, for connecting with that spark of you that hasn't gone out, that's still looking for a way to live this life. What worries you, or what fears do you have about the search itself, about looking for someone who can help you in this way?
I'm just not even sure who to look for. Psychologist, coach. I'm not sure what to even look for.
Right. So are you concerned that you would pick someone who wouldn't be able to help, or someone who would sort of take advantage? What's the fear behind the fear of not being able to identify the profession?
Yeah, that it will not be helpful. It won't actually break me out. It won't be full and complete and address everything from my psyche to how I actually feel every day to the choices that I make every day.
Okay, I'm hearing something else behind it that I'm not sure is true, but I'll throw it out for you to yay or nay. That this is kind of the energy you're putting into this search is kind of, it feels like the last little bit of water in your canteen in the desert.
Yes.
And this, if that making a mistake, like if we just looked at it logically, and you said, I'm afraid someone won't be able to help me, well, then logically you're no worse off than you were before. But it sounds like there's something much bigger at stake. That this is all about. This is the last shred of self-esteem you're willing to roll the dice on.
Yeah, because if I don't have the answers with my powerful mind, and another person that I go to doesn't have it, I'm really done.
Yep. And when you something I wrote down that you said was very powerful to me is the question, what's wrong with me? And that feels like something that doesn't just refer to your job, your life, but kind of a sense of you've lost your ability to discern positive from negative in your life, and that there's a worry that that lack of discernment is going to make any choice you make untrustworthy. Like
Wow.
you can't even trust yourself to figure out how to turn this around.
Right.
You have a long track record that looks to you like proof of failure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear how big these stakes are that you're this thing you're embarking on, and how much courage it takes to spend what must seem like this last bit of agency you've got.
Yeah, I'm pretty much at the end.
32 years old, and it feels like you're pretty much at the end. This is the
Mm-hmm.
this is the last gasp. Alex or other people, anything is coming up for you that you want to explore?
I don't have anything useful to share at all, Laurie, in terms of a question, except for the fact that I'm totally, completely ensconced in this story. I feel so much for Athena, and this is exactly why I love Howie and Howie's process. There's just such a deep humanness to this, and I just wanted to reflect back. You're doing great, and keep going. I'm afraid that's the best I have, but it's just wonderful.
Great, thanks. Steve wants to know what would be a smaller stakes option? What would feel safer for you at this point, Athena? Is there anything you could do that wouldn't feel like you're putting it all on the line?
Well, if I could just say no to my boss because he gave me a second job, a second full-time job, and didn't give me extra money. And I'm terrified that if I say, look, I can only work 40 hours a week, that then I'll lose my entire job.
So you started out saying that would be a smaller stakes option, but it doesn't sound like it feels like a very safe thing for you to do either.
No, it's not safe. It's just slightly smaller because the other one is everything. It's if there's no answers, then I have to, from the age of 32, are going to be like this.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a bigger stage.
Right. I get the image of you out in a minefield, barren, with nothing that you want in it, but at least you haven't blown your legs off by taking a wrong step.
Wow. Yeah. I can't think of a smaller, stake to go for because I've tried so much stuff over the years.
Like what?
Psychiatry, personal growth workshops, reading and listening to different things on the internet, and I just talking to friends. I'm out of answers, and that scares me.
I can hear what this is for you. It's, what a dark place in the story of your life this feels like.
Mm-hmm. But there's something there. I feel like there's something there from my past, from when I was in school. If I could just get her back. she was so much stronger than I am.
Okay, what I'd like to do is thank you, Athena, for being with us, and I would like to let you go and invite Lori back.
Hi there.
Hey. Wow. How do you feel?
Enlightened? Seriously, that was an amazing process.
What? Steve says, "Woot! Way to go, Lori." What did you tell me? Because I don't know what this was for you. What can you tell me to help me understand?
Well, some of it was from an actual person, and some of it was from me, and some of it was totally made up. And the parts of it that were about me were actually a glimpse into where I used to be at one point in my life. And so it was a totally new way to look at it. And also, I wrote down what you wrote down, what's wrong with me. Can't trust myself. And it really, the back part of my brain that was listening said, oh, that's what I give people. I give them back their trust in themselves. So that was really, it worked on many levels for me.
Well, I'm delighted to hear that. And
yeah,
what I want to make sure we do to nail this is, so I think it's fantastic that you had that insight. Here's, I give people back their trust in themselves. And I want to make sure we don't start leading with that in your marketing. Because that was from the disembodied voice of Lori listening in.
Exactly.
Right? So what we want to do here, and the next step in the process is to, and if you were doing a Google campaign, we would write short ads. So I'd love for people just to do that for a little bit, to just write a phrase or a sentence or a snippet of something that you would say to Athena to show her, to kind of give her a sense of you can help her. And what we want to do often is start with the benefits and start with how we can help someone. But in a case like this, more so than perhaps any I've worked on, we need to start by what my friend and mentor Perry Marshall calls reading them a page from their own diary. And you're in a unique position to do this because part of this was your diary.
Right.
So to sort of say a phrase, so with some of those phrases we had, I don't know how to get her back. So something like that. You were remember your powerful childhood. Where has she gone? Something that would, if Athena read it, would give her at least a flicker of hope that this person sees her in a way that none of these other professionals have seen her. Maybe the psychiatrist saw her as someone to fix. The workshop leader saw her as someone to put through a process. But nobody has seen her for the reality. And part of her her internal dialogue is she's the only one. Nobody else has this problem. No one else is as smart as she is and as big a loser. And that implies a disconnect, a strong disconnect from everyone else. No one else can understand what I'm thinking. I don't even tell my best friends because I'm afraid they would judge me, because they're not like this, because nobody's like this. Oh, look at these. I don't know how to get myself back. Where did my kick-ass self go? Where did my kick-ass self go is such a beautiful headline. Why don't I have any answers even though I'm so damn smart? Yes. So I don't know, what sort of marketing media you will use in your business, but what we're getting at here is sort of the beating heart of the message. So it's going to begin with this story of empathy, of naming the things that she's feeling and going through, and then introducing yourself. I know about this because I was there, and when I got myself out of it, I started helping other people because it seemed like the most natural thing to do for me was to share this, partly for selfish reasons because it helped me because it felt like the best thing I could do in the world, and it started feeling really good. I couldn't believe when I was helping other people with this process that I had struggled through. The feeling I would describe was blissful, and so and I found that the more bliss I felt, the more I was helping other people. I have a background in which I was able to draw upon certain experiences and skill sets and a mental openness through acting to actually give people an experience of themselves that they've never had before, or that they haven't had in decades occasionally. That the way our brains work is that when we experience something in our mind and we experience it vividly, it's as if we experience it for real. And through this process, I found people can reclaim their true strength, their true power, their true potential because they can experience it. And maybe in the externalities of their life, they've been put into a situation where they don't feel that power. And so all they feel is the overwhelming weight of small failure after small failure. And that becomes self-fulfilling. But I can't tell you how amazing it is and how quickly it can happen. That when you have a different experience that completely invalidates all those negative ones, you can reconnect with the powerful source within you, with the child with the hopeful, energetic, idealistic child you were, and you can get that engine running again, and everything becomes easier. Lori has another one. Why am I trapped in dead-end jobs when I was so awesome when I was young? So the only thing it says, make that dead-end job, trapped in a dead-end job, because that's how the person would think about it. Or why can't I get out of dead-end jobs? So implying that just one at the moment. So Lori, does this give you
incredible.
Does this give you a sense of? Oh, Alex, you wrote something here too. I just saw it in the chat box. You feel stuck. You know you need help so badly to care again about your life and find the strength to make some changes, but you don't know what the problem is or even what the hell to type in here in Google. Yeah. So, Lori, is that? No, we're not going through the full thing. Does it ways to start framing your marketing and
absolutely.
And how you?
Absolutely, it's phenomenal.
I'd like to ask you a quick question there, Lori, if I might jump in. When I went through this process with Howie, what I noticed started happening was when I had this avatar sort of in mind now for a couple of years, I found that the avatar, in fact, gave me the ideas for what sort of programs I wanted to put together. I was suddenly putting them together for a person rather than sort of directly out of my own imagination. Do you think that knowing this person now would also have that effect on you?
Yeah, I do. It's gorgeous because I'm one of those people who is interested in everything. And it's so helpful to really focus down. So yeah.
You can still be creative and be individual and do your own business your own way, but the focus now is that it's all the creativity is focused on a particular project or a particular cause.
I think that makes it actually stronger, don't you?
That's my experience. Yep.
Yeah, I'm very excited to look at this way. I'm so grateful for them.
Orestes has something here. From inside to the outside, discover your real life.
Oh, I like that.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's almost like saying like the life that she thinks she's in is actually some sort of cyber farce, some second life, and she's looking for the real one.
That's a really good
Beautiful.
comment.
Thanks for sharing that.
That's
So,
gorgeous.
if I were to take, I think we're done with the avatar work and with the demo. It's always different. Sometimes I'll have people sit and write down the diary entry of their avatar. So something I wanted to raise this in case folks are thinking it. You might think, but I just made this up. It's not real. And Lori, I suspect you don't think that way. Being in theater and you understand the power of intuition and creative imagination and making stuff up. But it's true that it's you kind of invented some of this. And so the question is, well, how do I go about marketing when it's based on this? And arguably, we could have come up with a dozen other avatars that would have led to very different conclusions. So my threefold answer to this is, first of all, there's probably a lot of truth here. And especially if it's based on a real person, based partly on you, and based on an intuition that you trust, that it's sort of, you know this, and it sort of bubbled up. And it coalesced around a fictional avatar, but it's real stuff. It can be truth without having happened. Second, if you don't go for it, you sentence yourself to mediocrity. So you can see how someone who doesn't have this attachment and doesn't have this relationship with an avatar, with a real person in a market, says kind of platitudes. I can help you get unstuck. Things that actually Athena would be terrified of, because they make a promise that would break her heart if the promise were broken. Right. And three, if you're using AdWords or any medium where you can do testing, it's a really good testing playground. You can write these little ads and test them out. And I don't think that would work in your case. I don't see this being an AdWords-driven business. But even if you're just writing stuff, you want to hold it lightly and see if it's correct, if the people it's bringing you are like Athena in enough ways. And as you get to know more people and work with them, Athena will evolve. Alex, that was your experience, right? That your avatar has been evolving the longer you've been doing business.
Yeah, and the relationship is deepening. I just know more about her over the time, and sometimes I sit down and journal this sort of thing, or obviously more practical ways if I'm coming up with a new program or marketing it. But on a much more daily level, I find that she goes through my mind quite a bit, and it's kind of a litmus test of how do I feel about her today? What is my connection, my relationship with my avatar? And I wasn't saying this on this call, perhaps I could share it now, that what I've noticed is demographically, this avatar doesn't necessarily match my, maybe 10%, 20%, I don't know. But psychographically, or not even that, actually, it's just a click factor, I call it. There's something about this woman that I see her, I just totally click. And it's like when you go to a party or something, or a networking event or whatever, and there's just someone in the room, you just have that instant conversation with, or it's just so easy. It's like you've always known each other. It's hard to put words to. It doesn't necessarily match a certain way of dress and all that sort of thing. But that click factor, you recognize it every time it happens. The avatar changed how I thought about my niche. It changed it into I'm looking for the people I click with. And that changed everything. So where was I going with that, Howie? I just went on a rant. Anyway.
So I see we're at 2 o'clock. We've been going for a long time, so I'd like to wrap this up. And I do have a nice prepared close to say, if you found this useful, you will find my virtual camp Checkmate, which starts on Tuesday, useful. And I think that's about as far as I'd like to go into the course, except to kind of give you two URLs. So first, it starts on November 6th and runs till December 18th. So all this stuff that I could talk about, you can find at actually campcheckmate.com. We'll send you to the full sales letter. However, I have to honor the fact that I raised the price to on November 1st, so it's no longer early bird pricing. However, Alex and I were unable to schedule this beforehand, so I created a sneaky backdoor link to the old pricing, which three monthly payments of $197, and that's the URL at the bottom there, askhowie.com/Alex, and make sure Alex is lowercase. It could all be lowercase. And that will get you two links, but that won't tell you about the course itself. That would be at campcheckmate.com. I describe the syllabus. I describe how the course is structured. Basically, it's minimum time and effort on your part. Lori, I'm just going to mute you so there's no echo. And really, my goal is that everybody who takes the course gets 7 times the value that Lori got on this call. And the guarantee is, if you're not happy, you get your money back. Testimonials. It says it's now up to 997. And there's some bonuses. You can read about those. No, actually, you can't. They're not in the sales letter. Oh, yes, they are. The bonuses are. I'm also providing 3 months of ongoing support via a secret Facebook group and 3 coaching calls that will happen, one per month. So for 3 months after the course, there is support via those 2 media. So if you go to campcheckmate.com, you can read all about it. Again, the purpose of this webinar is to share what I think is the best of what I do. So I know that many more people will attend this webinar than will attend the course, and that's as it should be. And I'm delighted when the feedback I get is that my marketing is helpful. It's not just pitching. And if this speaks to you, and we'll still sneak you in on the askhowie.com/Alex link to the lower pricing, I would love to have you in the course. Obviously, I can't do these without having paying customers for the other stuff. That's what subsidizes the free stuff. If there are questions about it, I really do. I would love to stay on the line and just pitch as long as you'd like to hear me, but I am feeling like everyone wants to go, including me. So I would invite you to email me at howie@askhowie.com, and I can just type that email here. If you have questions about the course, it's kind of starting this Tuesday. If you're not sure whether it would be useful for you, you can ask questions like that. Also, and I've mentioned this to Alex, that I want to honor the pricing that I give to the course, because to me it's a reflection of the value that I provide. And that said, if you really want to take the course and you can't afford even the 3 payments of $197, please send me an email and let me know what would work for you. Sometimes I always do what my heart says, and sometimes that is to make accommodations of various kinds, and sometimes it isn't. But if you feel like this would be right for you, then you're probably the sort of person who would be great to have on the course, both your contributions for yourself, but from my perspective, your contributions for others would make the course more valuable. So Howie@askhowie.com if you want a discount or if you just have questions. Askhowie.com/Alex if you want to sign up at the sneaky early bird rate that no longer officially exists. Campcheckmate.com if you want to pay full price. Alex, I'm done. I'll leave it to you to do you have anything else? And,
I do. I just want to finish up by saying that obviously everybody considering this is going to make their own decision, and that's, as you say, as it should be. So I can only just share my own personal experience that I had an inkling of how much this was going to affect my work and my business and my heart when I first went through what Lori just went through. On that first day, I had an inkling like, this changes everything. This changes the game. What I can't say enough about is how it's evolved and matured after that day. And I've had the incredible benefit of working with Howie personally on some of this stuff to help it evolve. And a few things have happened. And one of the ones that I would love to share, though, is that when I send out emails describing a program, for instance, that I'm doing, I get so many emails back from people saying very similar wording. They say something like, "Oh my God, it was like you were talking directly to me, to my life." And a lot of that is the effect of this avatar, because when I speak to that person with my heart, it doesn't matter how different in the world other people might be when they hear it, they still really relate to how I'm communicating to this person. It feels so human. It just has taken all of the nebulousness, is that a word, out of marketing for me. And yeah, so if you have a chance to give this a go, then I would just personally highly suggest it. And I'm giving it a go myself. So we'll see you there.
Thank you, Alex. Thanks for sending this message out and for bringing such wonderful, warm people onto the call. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you, Lori, so much.
Yeah.
You jumped in both feet so wholeheartedly. And please thank Athena for us. So that's it for me.
Quick practical question just before you run away. Is the recording from this something that those of us who are, touched by this process could share with our special friends? Are you okay with that? Is Lori okay with that? Or can it not really work that way?
I hope Lori's okay with it, because I didn't, I guess I should have said, Lori, good, you're okay with it. I guess by FCC regulations, I should say these calls are being recorded, but sorry, I kind of assume that people know that.
Well, Lori, your story, and of course Howie, the process in itself in the first place, but Lori, your story I think will touch a lot of people in my circles, my community, a lot of brand new entrepreneurs, people with massive differences they can make in the world and struggling to figure out exactly how it's defined, how to word it, how to market it, and your story there is just going to be great for them. So thanks for that. And maybe I could suggest that anybody who feels moved by this, and obviously I can't reach everybody, neither can Howie. There's people out there just waiting to hear this message right now. If you know someone you can send the recording to, then by all means help Howie get the right people into his course next week. I think we have the chance to reach out to people that he can't, so let's do that.
Thank you for that. And so let me just say to people who are listening to this later, I need to make an executive decision about how long that Alex link will be up.
Yeah.
Well, since sometimes it gets glitchy converting and uploading the recording, and I'm heading out now to take my son to a guitar lesson, so I can't guarantee that it will be up before this evening. So I will say you have till Sunday noon Eastern time. I'll keep the Alex link up until Sunday noon Eastern time for the early bird. And then if you're listening to this after that, you can always go to the campcheckmate.com page, scroll down, and opt in. And I hope to be doing this again sometime in 2013.
Wonderful.
So thanks for bringing me back to detailed reality. I visit there, but I don't live there.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for showing up and making today happen. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody, so much. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.